If there was a Venn diagram of invisible jobs, real jobs that sound fake, and jobs that keep diplomacy running, Keena's job would fall dead center, in the overlap of all three circles. As a security threatcaster and wargamer, it was her job to first know and understand the physical, political and socio-economic climate and circumstances at play. Then, using that knowledge, game out every likely scenario to a given confidence level and plan contingencies for each. Keena usually planned for explicit scenarios that were within a 50% or higher confidence level, and an overall, in all other cases, plan. The brief on this one, though, was that anything above a 5% confidence level needed contingency plans. Things that helped were the extensive surveillance already in place, along with a well-armed, well-trained security force, and reserves that could be assembled in advance and ready to deploy at a moment's notice. There were, however, things that made contingency planning more difficult. The relative insecurity outside the Galactic Union Hall, multiple entry and exit points to secure, and the sheer volume of traffic through GU Hall. Keena thought the most difficult to plan around, though, were the officials from other star systems and empires recognized by the GU. She had been charged with ensuring that the vote for Warn and Reach sovereignty and autonomy go forward without any harm to the Warn and Reach delegation. Unspoken, of course, was that the Federation of Human Systems delegation remain unharmed, as they were paying the bill for all of this. Another stated goal was that, regardless of the result of the vote, it not devolve into a situation that would only be resolved by war. Harsh words, economic sanctions, even public denouncements were fine, as long as they would not result in shooting. Between that explicit goal and the 5% confidence request, Keena had been forced to develop a set of plans that she couldn't share with the FHS delegation. If the GU voted against the petition, and the Empire of the All-Sensing Antenna maintained the systems of the Warn and Reach as vassal states, there was a better than 9% chance that the FHS would want to declare war. Better that they were rounded up for protection as soon as the vote was finished, and rushed to chambers where they could cool down and let them speak. They would not, of course, be the only delegation treated as such. In fact, there were orders already drafted to be disseminated to the security forces, outlining which delegations would be immediately rounded up and taken to their chambers. Which groups would be protected, depended on the outcome of the vote. "Where's the wargamer?" a voice bellowed from the hallway. Keena recognized the voice as belonging to the reptilian-looking commander of the GU security force, Sarvos. "In here, Chief." Sarvos entered, his 2-meter frame almost as high as the door, while being whip-thin. "Are you prepared to brief the staff?" "I'll leave that to you," she said. "If you could shut the door, I'll show you what we're working with." She offered him a seat next to her at the table she was using as a makeshift desk, and prepared the tablet she'd be leaving with him. "These are the scenarios, most likely to least, listed here." She pointed to the menu on the tablet. "The response plans are directly linked to each. I'd recommend you and your top lieutenants get familiar with all of them." "Why shouldn't I just pass this around to all the teams?" "Here, at 9.43% confidence." She let him read it through. "I won't be making this or any of the other protection plans known to any of the delegations. I don't want to influence their vote or let anything leak that could jeopardize security for the Warn and Reach delegation, or the FHS. He swished his tail. "Understandable. I'll keep this to just those I need to call the orders out and let the security teams know that they're on high alert and nothing else." "What time will the reserves check in?" she asked. "They're trickling in, 1s and 2s, from now through the middle of the night. Less chance of notice." "Are you sure you're not a threatcaster yourself?" Keena laughed. "Good move, though. Cancelling public tours and setting a clear security zone in the Commons is already enough notice that something big is happening." "No way. I might be able to foresee this one. Cartinian delegate intoxicated. Reveals details of FHS Cartinian Warn and Trilateral talks." Sarfos shook his head. "How did you come up with that? And with, 84% confidence?" "Elder Brinthia is a leaf chewer, and usually shows up to GU hearings at least half zonked." She shrugged. "From there, it's easy enough to find out he has loose lips. A loose beak when intoxicated." While he hasn't been part of those talks, which is a good thing, it's safe to assume that he has been briefed on them, as the head of Cartinian Interstellar Relations. What kind of AI do you use to come up with these scenarios? Kina pointed at her head. Not AI, just plain old human cognition, imagination, and the ability to come up with ways to throw a wrench into any plan. And percentage confidence. Does that pop right out of your imagination as well? He asked. No, that comes from the generalized forecaster AI that's used by businesses and government agencies all over the galaxy. She snorted. It's not a real AI, just a large data parser that can be trained on a dataset. In this case, recordings and minutes of every GU meeting for the past 100 standard years. And from that it can determine how likely Brimphia is to squawk his beak? Yes, or at least close enough. Sarfos continued to browse through the 800+ scenarios and their associated plans. Do you always plan out for such unlikely contingencies? No, just this time. The FHS delegation asked for contingencies for everything down to a 5% confidence. Usually, clients only ask for those down to 60 or maybe 50% likelihood. A knock at the door caught their attention. Sarfos turned off the tablet and stood, while Kina opened the door. Yes? Outside the door stood a small creature, covered in downy fur, with large, luminous nocturnal eyes, a sinuous body with 6 motor limbs and 4 grasper limbs, and floppy ears that reminded Kina of a poodle. I was told the security chief was in here. The creature's voice was melodic, somewhere between singing and whistling. Right here, Kina said, letting the creature in. You must be from the Warren Reach delegation. Yes, I am Matriarch Spista. Are you the head of security? She asked. No, that would be this fine gentleman right here. She motioned to Sarfos and turned to him. I believe you have everything you need. Check for Warren Reach delegation arrives early and unannounced, at somewhere around 52% confidence. You've got the playbook now. Oh, Spista said. A pleasure to meet you, Security Chief Sarfos. Turanakian, if I'm not mistaken. Sarfos nodded. There's no need to be formal with me, madam. You're the VIP here. Not really, she said. And who are you, human? Kina smiled as she opened the door to leave. I'm not that interesting. Don't mind me.